now, here's 5-Star Wrestling Podcast Eddie Valiant with Eddie Valiant's Hot Take.
Welcome, everybody, to another exciting edition of Eddie Valiant's Hot Take. I am your host, Eddie Valiant, here, and hopefully all of you have enjoyed the 25th ever episode of 5-Star Wrestling Podcast. It was a lot of fun to do. We were so happy. We're stoked that we made it to 25. Here's to another 25, to 100 in the future. And as always, you can follow us on Twitter at the number 5_star podcast. Again, that is the number 5_star podcast. I almost had a brain fart there for a second on our own Twitter feed. You can follow me as well at Eddie Valiant 82. Again, that's at Eddie Valiant 82, and Eddie is spelled E-D-D-I-E. You'll see it when you go to click on this. We got a lot of exciting topics to talk about here. We've had some Ring of Honor happen over the weekend. They had two shows. They had the Saturday night at Center Stage, and then they had Honor for All, which was this past Sunday. We've got that to talk about. We've got NWA wrestling to talk about. We've got AEW wrestling to talk about, and we have a preview of tonight's Monday Night Raw. Hopefully I can get this to you guys before Monday Night Raw starts. Otherwise, we can do a preview of SmackDown Live as well. So, Ring of Honor Wrestling had an event this past Saturday night in Atlanta, Georgia. It was Saturday night at Center Stage. And the event had some decent matches. I mean, we had Lifeblood, which was, I believe, Tracy Williams and Overkill there. Haskins taking on Villain Enterprises, but it was PCO and Brody King. You had in a triple threat match, you had LSG versus PJ Black versus Chase Owens. The winner was getting a shot at Shane Taylor's television title the next night at Honor for All. You had a Champions versus All-Stars match, which was Matt Taven, the Briscoes, and Shane Taylor versus Jay Lethal, Jeff Cobb, Kenny King, and Roosh. And then in a Women of Honor match, you had Sumi Sakai versus Angelina Love. But the premier match of that night was definitely Bandito versus Marty Scurll in a first ever match. This is the first time these two have fought in one-on-one, and believe me, it did not disappoint. That was actually my match of the night. Marty Scurll and Bandito definitely bringing it. Lifeblood versus Villain Enterprises was a good match, but it got its recognition because of a mistake that PCO made. So they had this storyline going forward where PCO apparently was having an electrical malfunction, right? And he's like sitting there banging on his head, and he, instead of doing a suicide dive or a tope suicida to the side that I believe it was Tracy Williams that was waiting for him on the outside. So instead of doing it to that side, he does a tope suicida to the complete opposite side where there is nobody. And remember, accidents happen. We get it. It's wrestling. Not everything is perfect all the time. So he dives to the opposite side of the ring, and next thing you know, he is just gushing blood over his right eye or left eye, whichever one. And it was pretty nasty. And if you look at the cut, the stitches and stuff, it's pretty nasty. But here's the plus side in all of that. This actually works in favor for PCO. You know what I mean? Because it kind of adds to the whole Frankenstein, the French Frankenstein monster persona that he has. And I love PCO. I'm digging PCO. Brody King, some unbelievable moves that this guy can just pull off. He's insane. He's out of this world. He's great. Other than that, the event was okay. Chase Owens, beating LSG and PJ Black, it was pretty decent. It was a decent match. It was a decent night. Angelina Love getting a little bit of help from Mandy Leon. in beating Sumi Sakai, which I can never forget. We got to talk about this with Bodacious Bodie sometime. Bodacious Bodie actually helped Sumi Sakai cheat in a wrestling match. That's right. Our very own Bodacious Bodie helped Sumi Sakai cheat in a match. I couldn't believe it. It was XWA wrestling. It was such a fun night. So yeah, that was an okay match. I like the finish. I kind of like what Angelina Love and the rest of the Allure are doing in Ring of Honor. Whatever, I can deal with it and dig it. But I want to go on to the very next night, which was the Honor for All card. And Honor for All was held at the Tennessee State Fairground Sports Arena in Tennessee. And it had matches like Lifeblood again. But this time it was a six-man tag team match, excuse me. Yeah, it was Bandito and Mark Haskins taking on Brody King and Marty Scurll. Now, the problem was, I believe originally it was supposed to be a six-man tag match, but PCO wasn't cleared. So it ended up being a tag team match. And I believe the winner got a shot at the tag team champions. That's what I believe happened there. But an excellent match. Now, for me, this was a breakout match for Brody King. We saw Brody King in the ring handling business with Bandito, showing a little bit of what he can do. Now, I know some of my friends like Lion Brian sitting there, thinking about like, oh, well, Warbeard Hansen is a lot better. And whatever, Warbeard Hansen did it first. But Brody King, some impressive moves in the ring. Give the guy credit. He's over 300 pounds. And he's got a future in the business, hardcore wrestling. Then you had the Briscoes in a match that I was not into, man. I'm sorry. Like, listen, I get Rock and Roll Express, legends in the business, Robert Gibson, Ricky Morton. I get it, man. You know what? Whatever. 37 years as a tag team. I think they've been wrestling for 20 years too much. They were taking on the Briscoe brothers for the tag team titles, and there was no way, if I was a betting man, there was no way in hell that I was going to choose the Rock and Roll Express to win. I'm sorry, man. I just cannot buy that the Briscoes would drop the tag team titles to the Rock and Roll Express. As much as it might have been a dream match for one of them, and that's fine. Hey, if it's a dream match for the Briscoes and it's a way for the Rock and Roll Express to bid adieu, then I am fine with it. Totally all 100% behind it. I just, man, I went into it like there's no way they're going to win. Why would they win? They can barely enter the ring. Never mind beat a tag team that's as physical and nasty as the Briscoes. So, whatever there. The rest of the card, you had Roosh take on Vinny Marseglia. And Vincent did an excellent job hanging with Roosh. Actually, at most of the time, he was beating Roosh at his own game during that. Then we had Shane Taylor versus Chase Owens for the television title. Shane Taylor obviously retaining the title. And then I liked this next match because I liked the idea of it. So it was called a Defy or Deny. And the idea was Matt Taven was in a fatal four-way match against Jay Lethal, Kenny King, and Jeff Cobb. And here's the deal, and here how it works. If Matt Taven was to pin, and they did it as sort of an elimination match, so it got down to the wire, you were eliminating guys. So if Matt Taven eliminated any of the other competitors, they were never to have a title shot against Matt Taven again. Now, if you're the man that pins Matt Taven, then you automatically get a title shot, and I believe the winner of the match overall gets a title shot because Matt Taven ended up disqualifying himself. So the winner of the match was going to get the title shot. And that was a pretty decent match. I liked it. There was a lot of action, and I was kind of wondering if it was if it was a one fall match or what was going to happen. But when Matt Taven was disqualified, then the elimination started happening, and I was like, okay, I get it. It's an elimination match. I would have loved to have seen Taven maybe pin one of the guys. I just think it's adding to this whole mystique of why is Ring of Honor's ratings so down? Why are there so many empty seats in the arena? I'm going to point to some evidence of that right now because that's really what I wanted to talk about right now was Ring of Honor Wrestling and its future. Now, I want to point back to 1 year before because it's August. All Out is this upcoming weekend. So I want to point back to when All In happened and what the Ring of Honor roster looked like before All In happened. Now, I'm trying to point it as maybe it's a roster thing because I just feel that Ring of Honor's roster has sort of been depleted. I feel the indie scene has kind of been depleted, and we're kind of sitting here waiting to see who the upcoming stars of the indie scene is going to be. And I know David Starr is still preaching about how he's still indie and whatever, good for him. But just think about it. At Best in the World 2018, okay, Ring of Honor had Punishment Martinez, they had Adam Page, they had Cody, they had the Young Bucks, they had Austin Aries, they had Kushida, they had these kind of guys, Bushi, Evil, Sonata. They had all these guys on their roster. And I just feel like that's where it is. It's the lack of talent or maybe not necessarily a lack of talent. Maybe it's a lack of star power. Because we know Kushida was putting asses in the seats. We know Punishment Martinez is a pretty good draw, putting asses in the seats. And you definitely know that Adam Page, Cody Rhodes, and the rest of the guys were putting asses in the seats. Because Bullet Club puts asses in the seats. So there lies the problem, right? Now I want to fast forward to 2018's Honor for All. And here are some of the matches that were on that card, right? You had Scorpio Sky, who was AEW versus Punishment Martinez, who's Damian Priest in NXT. We had Karen Q, who was in NXT, versus Sumi Sakai. We had The Addiction, which is AEW, versus the Young Bucks, AEW. Cody was on that. Nick Aldis is still NWA, so that doesn't really change. Chucky T, also AEW. So there's a lot of guys that were gobbled up in this huge surge that happened when AEW and WWE started going on a signing tear. So could that be one of the main reasons why Ring of Honor has had such a lack of sales? I want to point to the fact that star power does mean something in this business, okay? If it wasn't for the WWE having stars like Seth Rollins, Brock Lesnar, Roman Reigns, John Cena, Randy Orton, Kofi Kingston, all these household names, nobody would give a shit about the WWE. I mean, maybe they would, and maybe eventually they would once they figured out, okay, maybe the WWE has made brand new stars, right? And the same thing's going to bode true for AEW. If it wasn't for the star power that they have, is anybody going to give a crap about AEW? And the answer is, as long as they've got star power, then the answer is yes. And they're going to learn how to create new stars because they're going to have no choice, right? You're a brand new company. You're going to have to figure out how to build brand new stars on top of the stars that you already have. That way, if something happens, there's always another guy coming in. So I want to thank Juicy Josh for sharing this. Juicy Josh brought this to my attention. We were talking about Ring of Honor amongst ourselves. And he sent me this tweet, which was retweeted by, that sounded really bad too, that was retweeted by Mr. Jacob Cohen, who said 40 minutes before showtime, but this is a very serious issue for Ring of Honor. Hopefully they can shake this funk, but I think it's going to require a big change in the way they book their shows. And what he's talking about is that in January 2018, ROH drew one of, if not their largest crowd in Nashville, easily exceeding 1,000 people. 17 months later, the setup is no more than 400 people, and GA are being upgraded to reserve seating. If that doesn't paint the picture of what's going on in Ring of Honor, then I don't know what is going on in Ring of Honor. Is Matt Taven being Ring of Honor World Champion to blame? I don't think so. I think Matt Taven is a worthy champion. But, again, it's all about star power. If the people don't believe in him as a champion, then maybe they're like, you know what, we don't want to see Matt Taven versus Flip Gordon. We don't want to see Matt Taven versus Tracy Williams. They're definitely going to have to give the crowd what they want. They have no choice, right? So we're just going to have to wait and see what happens with Ring of Honor. Obviously, there's rumors that they've lost a lot of their affiliations. I believe New Japan was one of them, because I believe New Japan's going to be setting up with AEW to have a partnership with them. Believe that's a rumor. I don't know. If I can get confirmation, I'll bring it to you guys the next time here on Hot Take. I want to move on now from Ring of Honor, and I want to talk about AEW. They've got one of their biggest events coming up this weekend. It's called All Out, after they were all in. And they've already got problems. And the event hasn't even started yet. So come to find out, one of their matches featuring Jon Moxley, aka formerly known as Dean Ambrose, was supposed to take on Kenny Omega in what is a match that they have been beautifully preparing us for over the last several months. And unfortunately, Moxley was forced to pull out. Moxley stated, "I'm absolutely gutted to have to deliver this news, but I'd rather it come directly from me. In a nightmare scenario, a serious case of MRSA has returned in my elbow. The timing couldn't be worse. In this circumstance, I am forced to pull out of the fight on August 31st versus Omega at All Out." He would go on to tweet again that, "I apologize to all involved, most importantly the fans. I am incredibly frustrated and pissed off. I'll have surgery this week to remove the bursa sac in my elbow and be done with it for good. Should be a quick recovery, so I'll be 100% for AEW Wednesday nights on TNT." Nevertheless, this was a power move on AEW's part, and I got to give them credit for this because I am so excited for the replacement. Now, I get it. We didn't get a build-up for this match. There wasn't a huge storyline, but you know what? These things happen. If you look at the UFC, a lot of times just like boxing, you've got to promote a fight, right? There are things that happen. You promote the fight, right? There's plenty of interactions between the two parties that create a buzz, right? And then the buzz moves forward. But every once in a while, some freakish accident does happen, right? A boxer gets injured during training. UFC fighter gets injured during training. He gets sick. He gets diverticulitis. Whatever. Something happens, right? And the guy is forced to pull out of the fight. Well, what does the promotion do? Well, the promotion says, well, this guy is ready to fight, and I know he's been training to fight this one guy, but we can get him a replacement fight. And it's exactly what they do. Now, I have seen at times where A replacement fight has come to bite the original fighter in the ass. Plenty of times. I've seen that happen. So what did AEW do? They went and they got Pac, a.k.a. or F.A.K.A., formerly known as Neville. It's awesome. Power move. Great move on their part. But it still leaves a little bit of a question because there's a rumor going around, and I've been trying to research this. That the rumor is that Rey Fenix got injured, and I'm still waiting to hear, but if that is true, right, then that could definitely be devastating for AEW. To have another injury, sideline another guy, that could be pretty bad, right? But overall, it's going to be a great card. We're going to see the inaugural AEW champion when Adam Page takes on Chris Jericho for the chance to be known as the first ever AEW heavyweight champion. As I said, you got Pac versus Kenny Omega. You got best friends Chuck Taylor, Trent Beretta versus the Dark Order, Evil Uno, and Stu Grayson. It is a tag team match, and the winner receives a first round bye in the tag team tournament. Then you got the Lucha Brothers versus the Young Bucks for the AAA World Tag Team Championship, and what I'm assuming is a death ladder match, because it's a ladder and death match in Spanish. Then you have Cody Rhodes in a grudge match against Shawn Spears, and Shawn Spears is going to have the legend and my favorite member of the Four Horsemen, baby, Tully Blanchard, in his corner. Then we're going to have the Kings of the Death match, right, in a three-way match when Darby Allin takes on Joey Janela, Jimmy Havoc. We've got the 21 Women Casino Battle Royale, where the winner receives a match for the inaugural AEW Women's World Championship match scheduled for the very first AEW on TNT broadcast. And then we got Riho versus Hikaru Shida. And then Private Party, Isaiah Cassidy and Mark Quinn take on Angelico and Jack Evans. So there you go. There's your AEW all-out card. If I can find information on Rey Fenix or anything, I will let you guys know in the next episode of 5 Star Wrestling Podcast. That is for sure. I want to now take my time to preview Monday Night Raw and SmackDown Live, because after all, there are more King of the Ring tournament matches. So according to the Wrap, one of the matches you should be looking out for on Monday Night Raw is Sasha Banks finally returning to the WWE in a wrestling ring, as she will take on Natalya. And that has all been confirmed by the WWE to the Wrap. So enjoy that. It's Sasha Banks' in-ring return, and it's the first time we're going to see that since WrestleMania 35 back in New Jersey in April. That'll be fun, right? We're also going to get the King of the Ring matches as Ricochet takes on the Scottish psychopath Drew McIntyre, and then The Miz takes on the Lone Wolf Baron Corbin in an opening round matchups. That is stuff to look forward to tonight on Monday Night Raw. I'm assuming we're going to get more of, I believe Bayley takes on Nikki Cross tonight on Monday Night Raw too, so I'm sure we'll get more of that. We have to be getting something with Seth Rollins and Braun Strowman. After all, they won the tag team titles the week before, so it's going to be fun, right? Should be a pretty fun Monday Night Raw. I hope that they continue the momentum that they had from the week before. It was such an amazing Monday Night Raw, such an amazing SmackDown Live. Let's keep it going. Let's keep this momentum going in the right direction. And then on SmackDown Live, you got to expect that we're going to get the rest of the matches. That's going to be Ali versus Buddy Murphy in what could be a match of the night. All I'm saying. And another match that could have potential to be match of the night, Chad Gable versus Shelton Benjamin. I'm sure we're going to get the backlash of Shane McMahon getting involved in Kevin Owens' King of the Ring match last week, as well as more on that weird, Rowan story with Roman Reigns. And yeah. Anyways, so I look forward to all of this. Obviously, look forward to this week's episode of 5 Star Wrestling Podcast. We're definitely going to be talking NXT UK. We're going to be talking All Out, which both happen Saturday. And I'll try to get us to touch upon a little bit of the New Japan show that is also happening in London this weekend as well. So for me, that does it. Thank you for listening to Eddie Valiant's Hot Take this week. Again, you can follow us on Twitter at the #5_star podcast. Again, that is the #5_star podcast. You can also follow us on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram at 5 Star Wrestling Podcast. Spell it out, 5 Star Wrestling Podcast. Again, follow me on Twitter at Eddie Valiant 82. Again, that's at Eddie Valiant 82. And before I let you all go, big news on NWA. I'm going to end the show on this. NWA is going to have a weekly show based out of Georgia. And basically what's happening is that NWA Wrestling is returning to television on Georgia Public Access, their stage. And you're going to be getting a weekly television show, which is kind of going to be old school. It's going to look like the old Georgia Championship Wrestling of the 1980s, where it's in a studio. The production is more centered on the talent. And it's trying to create a desire that you're going to see these stars week in and week out. I believe they're going to do it on Saturday nights. Don't quote me on that one. But it's going to create a culture where you're going to want to go to the big NWA pay-per-view event. You know what I mean? To see the title on the line. In the video that I shared on our Facebook page, Billy Corgan thanks companies like Ring of Honor, AEW for allowing them to host their matches on their cards. But Billy Corgan believes that the time is now for NWA to rebranch out and do its own thing again. And I got to give him credit for that. You got to step out and do your own thing. And I look forward to it. There's so much wrestling. Just enjoy it, people. You know what I mean? Like, I get it. We want to sit there and think there's going to be another Monday Night War between the WWE and AEW. But let's just enjoy what we have, because this is a beautiful time to be a wrestling fan. And that's what I'm going to leave you guys on today. Be thankful that there is so much content, because it's a beautiful thing. And I want to thank you guys again for listening to Eddie Valiant's Hot Take. I will see you all next time.